Today, let's talk about the two main project management methodologies. Ever wondered how big companies build apps, launch websites, or even design new products? Two of the most common methods are called Agile and Waterfall, and they're totally different. In this video, we're going to break down Agile versus Waterfall in a way anyone can understand. No tech jargon, no fluff, just real-world examples and clear explanations. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what both approaches are, when to use each one, and why this choice can make or break your project. Whether you're a student, new to the workforce, or simply curious about how big projects get done, I promise to break this down in plain English with real examples you can relate to. Let's start with a simple analogy. Imagine you're planning to build a house. You have two contractors to choose from. The first contractor says, "Give me all your requirements up front. I'll create a detailed blueprint, and in 6 months, I'll hand you the keys to your finished house." The second contractor says, "Let's start with the foundation, show you what we've built every 2 weeks, get your feedback, and adjust as we go." That's the difference between Waterfall and Agile. One follows a strict, sequential plan, while the other adapts and evolves based on continuous feedback. In our previous video on the Agile Manifesto, we discussed the Agile method of project and product management. But before then, let's talk about project management. What is project management? At its core, project management is simply the art and science of getting things done. It's about planning, organizing, executing, and monitoring work to achieve a specific goal. Whether you're planning a birthday party, writing an essay, or building a multi-million-pound app, you're doing some form of project management. Now, within project management, there are different ways to approach the work. That's where Waterfall and Agile come in. In our previous video on the Agile Manifesto, we discussed the Agile method of project and product management. You might want to visit that for a detailed breakdown on Agile. The Waterfall approach is considered the older, more traditional, and common-sense way of building things, especially in construction and manufacturing. It is like an actual waterfall. Water flows in one direction from top to bottom, and it can't flow backwards. In project management, this means you complete one phase entirely before moving to the next, and you don't go back to previous phases. It makes more sense in construction, because when you are constructing a house, for instance, you cannot pivot to constructing a bridge after the foundation has been completed. There are different phases in Waterfall. The requirements gathering phase. This is where you talk to the homeowner and get every single detail they want. The number of rooms, toilets, and bathrooms, or even what type of kitchen plan they want, among other things. This becomes your detailed blueprint when you write them down. In software development, this is where you gather all the user needs, business goals, and technical specifications. You create massive documents detailing every single feature and how it should work. The design and architectural plans phase. Based on the complete blueprint, the architects and engineers draw up a highly detailed plan of the house, the structural, electrical, and mechanical. These designs are locked in. In software, this is where you design the entire system architecture, database, user interface, UI, and user experience based on the comprehensive requirements. The implementation phase. This is the construction phase which begins after the designs are completed and approved. The builders commence work strictly following the plan: foundation, walls, roofs, finishing, in that specific order. In software development, this is where the engineers write the code. They can only start coding after the design has been approved. The testing and inspection phase. Once the building is completed, you bring in the inspectors to test everything: the lights, the structure, the plumbing, to be sure that everything works. It is at this stage you discover any problems. In software development, this is where the quality assurance team tests the entire application to see if it works after all the codes have been written. A deployment phase. If all critical inspections pass, the homeowner moves in. This is the first time they see the completed building and get to experience it. In software development, This is where the app is released to the users. The maintenance phase. After the homeowner moves in, you fix any minor issues that pop up. In software, you release patches, bug fixes, and minor updates. Waterfall is linear and sequential. You can't go back upstream. It also requires big upfront planning and a fixed scope. Feedback is usually late because the customer most likely comes in contact with the finished product and at the end of the endeavor. Waterfall works best when the requirements are extremely stable and well understood, like when you're building a bridge. It is also applicable when you're in an industry where regulations demand rigid planning, or when you're deploying the same project repeatedly, building the same thing over and over. The downside is that because the user only gets to use the product in the end, a lot may have changed both in preference and technology. The user may no longer be interested in or pleased with the product or outcome. This is particularly a problem in software development, as the user may have moved on and no longer in need of the product is built. Agile, on the other hand, is considered the flexible and adaptive way developed by people who were tired of the waterfall way. They realized that building software required a different approach from building a house or bridge, that it involved more of discovery and adaptation. In Agile, the work is done in short cycles called sprints, usually 1 to 2 weeks. The team builds a small part of the product. They test it, get feedback, and make changes quickly. Then they move to the next chunk and repeat the same cycle. An example is when you are building an app. With Agile, you first make the login page, show it to users, get feedback, fix it, then move on to the next feature, just like the homepage. In Agile, you start with an initial vision or high-level plan. Then you proceed to execution in small sprints. You test your first product and receive feedback. Then you continue to update the product based on the feedback received and build the next feature of the product. If the preference of the user or the trend in the market changes, you can easily update your requirements and continue to build. This is a difficult approach to use in building construction, but easy in software development. Agile is iterative and incremental. You deliver small working increments of the product frequently. It is also flexible and adaptive to changes in information and feedback. It encourages customer collaboration as the customer is always involved in the process, either directly or indirectly through the product manager. You get a working product sooner, especially as you have a cross-functional team working together. Agile works best when the requirements are likely to change on a short notice, like they do in software development, or when innovation is key as you discover the best solutions through trial and error. It also works best where rapid feedback is needed and in industries with high levels of uncertainty. The downside is that Agile is harder to estimate costs up front, requires experienced teams for success, and can be chaotic without proper structure. Agile is less predictable, requires more involvement, and can be challenging for large organizations and bureaucratic systems. Also, with the focus on working software, documentation may suffer. Let's compare Agile and Waterfall. Agile is flexible and iterative, while Waterfall is structured and sequential. Agile adapts easily to changes, while Waterfall is fixed and hard to change. Agile delivers small and frequent releases, while Waterfall makes one big final release. Agile involves continuous customer feedback, while Waterfall had limited involvement of the customers. Agile is faster and adaptive, while Waterfall is slow and fixed. Agile is lower risk because it is adjustable, while Waterfall is higher risks due to hard-to-fix mistakes. Agile is best for software, startup, and evolving products, while Waterfall is most suited for construction, government, and large-scale systems. In reality, most organizations do not stick to one method. There are cases where we apply a hybrid of Agile and Waterfall, and this is what they do. They create a blend that works for their specific situation. Wagile, also known as Water Agile, is when organizations use Waterfall for the overall project structure, but deploy Agile within each phase of the project. SAFe, also known as the Scaled Agile Framework, is used by large organizations to combine agile practices with more traditional planning and governance structures. Stage gate with Agile is when companies use stage gate processes like Waterfall for major milestones and funding decisions, but use Agile practices between the gates. In conclusion, the choice between Agile and Waterfall isn't about which one is better. It's about which one fits your specific situation better. You should carefully weigh the circumstances, features, and requirements of your project and industry to decide what best suits you. Remember, most real-world projects use hybrid approaches. The best methodology is the one that works for your team and situation. You can start with one approach and evolve your process over time. The goal is delivering value to your customers, not following a methodology perfectly. The most important thing is to understand the trade-offs and make conscious choices about how you want to work. Whether you choose Waterfall, Agile, or something in between, make sure your entire team understands and commits to the approach. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe for more project management content. Let me know in the comments which approach your organization uses and how it's working for you. See you on the next video.